Muy buenas noches con todos. A nombre de la Maestría en Industria 4.0 de la Universidad Técnica Particular de Loja, les damos la más cordial bienvenida al webinar titulado ¿Cómo incrementar nuestra producción con Andon Study en la Industria 4.0? Este espacio busca generar un diálogo técnico y académico sobre cómo los avances en la medición y el control industrial pueden aplicarse eficazmente en entornos reales, transformando los procesos productivos y preparando a los profesionales a los desafíos de la cuarta revolución industrial. Agradecemos su participación y los invitamos a aprovechar en este evento como una oportunidad para ampliar sus conocimientos, hacer preguntas y fortalecer vínculos entre la academia y la industria. A continuación, damos paso a la pequeña presentación.
Up next, we are honored to welcome engineer Charles Arahi from FAMIC Technologies. FAMIC Technologies is a Canadian company headquartered in Montreal with two subsidiaries located in Germany and India. FAMIC Technologies develops, integrates, and markets innovative software solutions and provides consulting services for projects related to industrial automation. Charles Arahi holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Notre Dame University, Sud Mosbec, Lebanon, and a master's degree in industrial engineering from Concordia University, Montreal, Canada. He currently works in FAMIC Technology Inc. as a verification and validation specialist. We now welcome engineer Charles Arahi, who will give his presentation entitled Boost Productivity with Andon Studio Industry 4.0.
Thank you.
Adelante, por favor, Charles.
Thank you for having us. But first, Jorge is going to start with their presentation.
Ok. Muy buenas tardes. Espero que puedan escucharme. Mi nombre es Jorge Díaz. Soy director regional de la compañía FAMIC Technologies para América Latina, España y Portugal. Voy a hacer esta presentación en español para que puedan comprender un poco lo que vamos a desarrollar esta tarde. Con respecto a FAMIC Technologies, ya hicieron la presentación en inglés, vamos a indicarla también en español. Nuestra compañía está ubicada en Montreal, Canadá, en nuestra oficina principal, una sucursal en Alemania, una sucursal en India. Somos alrededor de 150 ingenieros especializados en diferentes sectores, ¿no? Desarrollo de software, ingeniería mecánica, ingeniería eléctrica, automatización, diferentes pues sectores, ¿no? A nivel de la ingeniería. Desarrollamos diferentes productos. El producto pues que se trabaja hace muchos años se llama Automation Studio. Tenemos aplicaciones para la industria, para la educación, y el otro producto es Andon Studio, que es la herramienta que se va a trabajar en esta tarde, en esta jornada. Con respecto a Andon Studio, que es justamente el propósito de la conferencia que vamos a ver a continuación, quiero indicarles pues que es una herramienta aplicada a lo que es Industria 4.0. Aquí coloqué dos términos importantes como son fábrica inteligente y fábrica conectada, ¿sí? Para tener una idea del alcance. Y lo vamos a enfocar no tanto en conceptos de la industria 4.0, sino en herramientas aplicadas, que es nuestro, digamos, nuestro propósito como compañía. Entonces, aquí un breve texto. Andon Studio es una herramienta dedicada a las operaciones de producción, las cuales pues, puede integrar en los diferentes sistemas existentes para supervisar las operaciones de los diferentes procesos, líneas de producción, equipos, con el propósito de optimizar la productividad, reducir los tiempos de inactividad a través de la creación de un sistema global interconectado. Entonces, toda la presentación que va a hacer mi colega va a estar basada en explicar qué es este desarrollo y cómo se aplica a nivel pues, de un sistema de producción con el propósito justamente de tener fábricas inteligentes y fábricas conectadas. Entonces, con esta pequeña introducción doy paso a mi colega para que inicie con su actividad. Igualmente quiero comentarles que nos está acompañando el director de proyectos relacionado con Andon Studio, Jan Emanuel Mabuac, que está también pendiente para asistirnos al final en caso de cualquier inquietud que pueda surgir. Muchas gracias y damos paso a Charles para que pueda continuar su presentación en inglés. Ok, Charles.
Okay, great. Just gonna share my screen first. Can you guys see the screen? Okay, is it good?
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you for the intro, Jorge. So my name is Charles, and I'm gonna introduce Andon Studio to you today. So before we get started on how the software works, I just want to frame it within the context of the enterprise and like Industry 4.0, since this is the main topic of today. So Andon Studio mainly is a manufacturing execution system, meaning its main purpose is to bridge the gap. Just let me change the pointer here between your ERP system and the shop floor. And it uses Industry 4.0 leverages, such as mainly communication, and that's going to be the main theme in this software, either communication using real-time data to communicate between machines and operators, or to communicate between different employees on the same floor, or vertically within the company itself between different departments. So that's going to be the main functionality of Andon Studio. So moving to your enterprise, since Andon Studio is a execution system, it's mainly going to be concerned with your production layer of your enterprise. And it's going to communicate via a bi-directional communication with your ERP system. So your ERP is going to be mainly concerned with creating high-level plans, such as work orders, production schedules, and it's going to send those plans to Andon Studio, who's going to follow the execution of those plans, either by tracking the status of the machine, how many pieces the machine has been producing, and the actions of the operator. So mainly your ERP is concerned with the end objectives, like how many pieces I want by the end of next week, while Andon Studio is going to follow this execution. It's going to tell you at this moment, at this time, how many pieces did I produce? Are there any delays? Should I update my upcoming schedule? And this is really important if you want to improve productivity and reduce your lead time in your production. So when talking about communication, it's not just important to communicate between your ERP and your MES system. There should also be a good communication with your shop floor, as in your machines. So when your ERP system sends work orders to MES or Andon Studio in this case, Andon Studio will then communicate this data either to the operator's screen or to the machine interface. And in return, it's going to get feedback from them. And this feedback can be in the form of execution time, delays, or how much time the machine is taking. It's going to forward this information up to the ERP upstream. Now, this is important. That way, you'll be able to make plans based on real-time data on the shop floor. So more into details into Andon Studio itself. So mainly Andon Studio is able to enhance communication throughout the plant. This is done by using real-time data and by notifying all the personnels that are included with this data. And this is important in order to be able to decentralize decision-making, meaning that at the edges of the data collection, people can make decisions. They don't have to send those information up the ERP or upper management in order to make that decision. The second point is the reducing of the unplanned machine downtime. So the main feature of Andon Studio and real-time data is to be able to react immediately to an issue. And this is important in order to reduce the downtime in the future, as well as being able to collect the data of such downtime in order to be able to analyze it for future events or in order to see if there are issues with your machines in the future. And the integration of the ERP and the shop floor, which I previously explained on the other side. So now as far as industries goes, so Andon Studio is really versatile since it allows professionals to configure the system based on their actual plant, so they can modify it as based on their needs, based on the size of their enterprise, etc. And it's also important for educational purposes. So initially, it's helpful to create an environment that simulates a real world, and this is also can be done in parallel with digital twins. So in our case, we're going to use Automation Studio. Now I'm going to show you later in the slides how we're using it. But mainly Automation Studio is used in our case to generate like an assembly line that will increment the production count, etc. And it will be imported by Andon Studio. And students can do the same thing, so you don't have to put too much expenses in order to create your virtual plant. And another factor also for students is the cloud version of Andon Studio, in which they don't have to worry about, because usually in order to configure Andon Studio, you need a good IT system. So in case you don't have those resources, the cloud version is really helpful, where FAMIC Technology can just send you the link of the important, I'm going to talk about the clients later, and the user can immediately start working on them. So before I start with the software, I just want to talk a little bit about the architecture, because Andon Studio is not just one program. It's multiple modules that are communicating with one another. So the system follows what's called a client-server architecture. So the client will be the front end of it, and the server is going to be the back end of it. So within this backend, so the backend is mainly concerned with processing and calculations. And at the center of this backend is a software called Andon Studio Core. So this core is the main brain, so to speak, of Andon. So it processes all the information and everything goes through it. So for example, from the front end, let's say an operator does an action, or there's a downtime in your machine, this information will go through the Andon core, and then Andon core will send that information to the database. It's a bidirectional communication. So let's say I have an issue on my machine and I want to see the necessary documentation. I can just call it from the database. The core will grab it from the database and send it to the front end. Along with the core, we have Andon Studio Synchronizer. So like the name suggests, it synchronizes data between your ERP system and Andon Studio. So just a note for now, for the time being, this feature has been added in the version 4 of Andon Studio, and it's mainly compatible with an open source ERP called OFBiz, but we are working on integrating more ERPs in the future. Besides the synchronizer, we have Andon Studio Notification. So Andon Studio Notification is mainly for sending alerts. These alerts can be either if there's an issue with the machine or if an operator needs help and they want to call maintenance of some sort. And this communication is sent, or this notification itself is sent either via messages, SMS, emails, or via the mobile application over here. And then we have the OPC client. So OPC client is the eyes of Andon Studio on the floor. So it's able to communicate with the machines in order to grab important data, such as the machine status, the production count, the reject count, and the rework count, and all that important information. And it's all goes through the core and the database. Now going to the front end. So this is going to be the important part for today. So the front end is composed of Andon Studio Manager. So this program, so to speak, is mainly oriented to managers and supervisors. And on this level, they can configure the plant based on how they see it. They can give permissions to users, and they can assign the different views for the workers on the floor. Now, these workers on the floor are going to be using Andon Studio Operation. And depending on their different jobs and different positions, they're going to have different views on this screen. And these views are going to be managed by manager, basically. And also we have the mobile application, which is mainly for sending notification, either for maintenance request or for if there's an error with the machine, so you can respond in time. And we have the work order editor. So this is mainly for educational purposes, because the work order editor creates work orders by its name. So this is made for in case, let's say university doesn't have an ERP system to create those work orders. They can make them using the work order editor and send it to Andon Studio in order for students to be able to practice. Okay. Now more into the details. So as I mentioned before, this is Andon Studio Operation. So if you go back here, this is this software over here. And like I mentioned, the view on Andon Studio Operation can differ depending on the job of the person. Now, this view is called operator view, meaning that an operator is going to be assigned this, let's say, interface, so to speak. And in this interface, the operator can see all the machines on his production line. He can see the status of said machine. And in this tab over here, he can control the work orders. He can see the production count. and many KPIs. Now, what's important is these multiple tabs. So each of these tabs is a workflow. Now, workflows are like mini programs and that can be configured in Andon Manager in order to create repetitive actions. So these are like simple linear actions, and its main purpose is in order to avoid human errors when doing an action and to make it simple for everybody using the machine. And this is important also for tracking actions done by the operators that can be logged for the future in the database. So another aspect is the communication, as we said before. So it's the notification, and this is when we mentioned the Andon notification, and it goes through 3 different layers. So let's say I have an issue on the shop floor. So I can either trigger a notification automatically using a workflow, or the operator himself can trigger it also using a workflow. And the notification can be either via an email, like this one, where the person can accept, deny it, or they can just be notified about it, or it can be an SMS, or it can be via the mobile application. Now, communication is not just limited to alerts and issues. Communication is also important in the sense that the important information is available to the right person at the right time. And in Andon Studio, you can assign documentation to a machine. So let's say, for example, I have a downtime with my machine. I want to see how it works. What's the issue? I called maintenance. Maintenance is here. They can just open this tab and they can see the different documentation. It's not just like PDF files. You can have videos, images, audios. You can select it and they can filter that out as they please in order to get the right information. So like I previously mentioned, Andon operates has different views depending on your needs. So we previously showed the operator view. Now you can have also like big views that you can display in the middle of your plant so everybody can have access to the same information at the same time. This is what I mean by decentralizing communication. So everybody has access to the data in real time. For example, this view, you can see the different OEEs of the machines. And this one, you can see dashboards. So dashboard can also be created in Andon Manager, where you can assign them the different variables and you can display them as needed. Here we can see the different states of the machines, if it's in production or not, if it's down, what's the stop reason. So these are the different colors of the stop reasons and they're displayed for each machine. And here we can see, this is a display to know if there's like a taxi request and other stuff like that. So moving to reducing downtime. So we can split reducing downtime into 2 layers. The first section is going to be about information logging. So how do I define my downtime? How do I define my stop reason? So first, I can either define those stop reason in Andon Studio via these code numbers over here, and I can assign them to the controller codes. Or in the case of an unplanned error, the operator can just select the pen over here. He can see the list of available errors and he can select them. That way, the decision making is not limited to upper management. It can be also on the floor. And this will allow clear communication and the logging of the errors. Besides logging, an important aspect of real-time information is reflexibility. So it's not just about fixing the issue, it's about how fast you are notified of this issue in order to be able to go and fix it. And Andon Studio can do that either via automatic workflows that are triggered by variables that you can assign or manually by operators. And what's important, once the trigger is activated, it will immediately notify the personnels that are involved. So for example, here there's an error, the supervisor is called or maintenance is called via the mobile application. Now, going from real-time information, now we're going to mention the data logging. So since Andon can log every action, being operator actions, being the status of the machine when the machine was down, all this information is stored in your database. And this information can be used in a feature in Andon that's called the reporting tool. So reporting tool has some default templates, and it uses this information that's stored into your database in order to do post-production analysis. And this is important for supervisors and such. For example, let's say a machine has multiple downtimes during a certain time. You might say the machine might need changing. Maybe there's a lot of maintenance call during a certain shift, and you can see those patterns and adapt accordingly. So switch. Okay, another newly added feature in the 4.0 version is the Gantt chart. So these, what we're seeing here, are work orders composed of multiple operations. And this is a real-time Gantt chart where you can follow the status of your work order. And this is important when it comes to the ERP being able to adapt to the real-time information on the shop floor. So here you can see when the machine was down, when the machine was in production. You can see which people were logged in into the operation, which one did the modifications, how many pieces were accepted, how many are due, what was rejected and reworked, and you can see if there's a delay or if you are on time. So these are really important information if you want to keep track of the execution of your plans. Okay, so sorry I've been a bit quick because I want to get to the demo section of this presentation. So far I've just showed you what the software is. Now we're going to do like a quick demonstration to see if I want to add a machine to my production line. So usually how the configuration work, you start from the manager and you go to operation. But in my case, I'm going to do the opposite because it's easier to see the end result. I'm going to go from operations, show you the workflows. Then we're going to go through the production line, the site configuration, and the global configuration. So let me just switch to Andon for a second. Right. Okay. Great. So this is manager, and this is operation. Now, currently my machine is in a downtime, so I'm just going to activate it for a second. Okay. So now I'm in operator view. So like I mentioned before, this view changes depending on the worker. So I'm an operator. I've been assigned this view. I can see all the machines on my production line over here. I can see how many parts I have been producing. And like I mentioned in the educational version, these values here that are incrementing are being imported from Automation Studio, in which you can have, so in our case, it's a simple simulation, but you can have way more complex digital twins. And these are my KPIs, and these are the different workflows. So I'm going to go through an example of a workflow. So I'm going to use the taxi workflow. So the taxi workflow is used usually if you want to request a product. So I'm going to call the taxi. I'm the operator. I need my product. I can see the list of products that have been assigned to my machine, and this is done on the Andon manager level. So I just click here, I add a pack of 6, and I confirm my order. Okay, so now I have requested it. So if we go to a different view, let's say we go to the request taxi display. So this sort of display are meant to be displayed on the big screen on your shop floor, and it will show you for the different machines of your production line what's going on. So the thing is that my machine is the 4th one, so it is going to switch between different machines for a couple of seconds. So usually what will happen is, let's say I order. So for example, here I can see my order. Everybody can see that I have requested something from this machine. And now I go to the taxi station. So far this is the 3rd view, and this is a different worker. So you're a taxi operator now. So let's say I'm a taxi operator. I receive a request from the operator that they need a pack of 6. So I select it, I confirm it, and here it should update on the big display. I'm not going to wait too much time, but the notification would disappear after I've accepted that request. And now moving back to the operator who did the initial request. So see here, he has a delivery completed and he can confirm that he has received this. So what did I just do here? So using simple clicks, the operator was able to get his product, and all of these clicks have been registered in your data system. So you're able to track them in the future, and you have reduced the communication time between the different employees. So this is my machines view. So now let's say I want to go to the work orders. Now I move to operations. So these work orders, there are two ways to import them, either via the ERP system or via the work order editor, in case you don't have an ERP system. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to open my work order editor, which is over here. Let's say I'm going to create a new work order. So first I start with the work order. I'm going to name it, let's say, work order 11. I'm going to pick the product, generic product. I'll put a quantity of 10. I'm going to select my site. This is my site, for example. I save. And now I'm going to add the operation to it. I'm going to call this operation 11, for example. I'm going to give it a planned duration of 10. Setup time of, let's say, 2 minutes. For prerequisite, this is if you have multiple operations that are sequential, and one is the prerequisite of another. And here you can select the machines that are assigned to it. So let's say, for example, I pick line machine and I leave it blank, then the software will show me which machines are available when I run the operation. Or I can select them here. I can limit it to these options, one of them. I'm going to leave it blank so I have more flexibility, and I save it. So now I can see my work order 11, and under it I have operation 11. So after saving, so now my work order 11 is on my operator view. I can see it. I'm an operator. I see my work order. I want to start it. So I press on start. Now, these are the machines that I mentioned. So all these machines, it will only show the machines on your production line that can produce your product unless you specified the specific machine, but it's going to show all the ones that are available. So let's say I'm going to pick this one. So here I'm going to see the estimated end time. So this initial estimated end time is calculated via the number of products to be produced. So in my case, it's going to be 10 products, and via the speed of the machine. So this speed is defined on the level of Andon manager. So this is my theoretical estimated end time. So now it's say 7:38. This is because of different time zone. It's going to end in 2 minutes. So I'm going to add it here. And then I'm going to have the setup action. And okay, so the code. Okay, so now it's producing pack 6, and my work order is generic. So it's going to give me this error over here. So I can fix that. I can go to my Automation Studio. I can pick generic product. It's going to change to generic over here. Now it's generic, the error is gone. Now all this communication is done via OPC using Automation Studio. So let's say I start my setup. It's going to give me the estimated time for it. It should end at 43. And now I'm going to end it a bit early. And now I'm going to the production task. So there's another feature using also workflows where I can set some alerts if the operation itself is delayed. So I can say if it's delayed by 2 minutes with respect to its theoretical end time, send me a notification. I'm going to end this thing over here. I'm going to end the operation, and operation 11 is completed. So this is like a quick walkthrough of the work order. Now we can do manual operation, you can do individual pieces, but we're not going to go over all that today. So moving back to the presentation. Where is it? So far we've seen how the operation works. We've seen the workflows. on the front end level. Now we're going to move to manager over here. So, so in manager, you're gonna have to configure your location. So the hierarchy in Andon follows this structure, which is country, province, then region, then site. So I'm going to show you a pre-configured example in my case. So let's say I go to manager and I'm in this location. So my country is Canada, the province is Ontario, the region is St. Mary's, and this is the name of my site, which is the equivalent of a plant. So the reason an MES doesn't go much into details like an ERP, because an MES is mainly concerned with the production part of your enterprise. So it's not going to be as detailed or as the ERP system when it comes to the structure itself. So let's say I'm at this site. Okay, within my site, I can see my machines and my production line. So how does this hierarchy work? So if let's say I go back into the slide. So on the top layer, we have the machines. These are all the machines that I'm gonna say are available for my site. Under them, I'm gonna have the production line. And within that production line, I'm gonna have line machines. So line machines are basically machines that I selected to associate to this production line. And within each line machine, I'm gonna assign a product. So in our example, before I get it too complicated, I'm just gonna start a bit simple with it. A simple manipulation would be, so these are all the machines in my production line. So you might notice here that I have this one, emballeuse carton 002, and it's not showing over here in my production line. So all of these are showing, this is my production line over here, except for this one. So how do I show it? So let's say I want my operator to be able to see what's going on in this machine. So I go to this section here called display zone. So in display zone, I can see all these different views that are available. So all these views are created over here in manager. And I'm going to go to the operator view. And an operator, I can see the name of the screen on which the information is displayed. And I can see which machines I want to assign to it. So here I select, let's say machine 002. I send it over here and I save it. And then go to this section called workflows. And in this section, I can assign which workflow I want to see on this machine. So for the time being, I've only assigned taxi. So if I go to operation, it's going to open it. So now I can see emballeuse 002, which is displayed on my system. So the next step, let's say I want to add another machine here. So as I explained in my PowerPoint presentation, the first layer starts with machines. So I go over here, I go to machines. I have like emballeuse 003 that's waiting over here. I can create a new one if I want. I can call it, let's say, emballeuse or say packer for or I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna make them all the same. And here I can have the equipment type. So I'm gonna set it as a packer, and I'm gonna save this information over here. So what's gonna happen? So now I've finished this section. I can move to my production line. So I move to the filling yogurt station. I can go to my line machines, and I'm going to say I want to add a new machine. So this will select from the pool of machines over here. So I'm going to pick a packer type, and I have packer 4 available. I'm going to select it. And now my packer 4 is available. I can see all the stop reasons. I'm going to save it over here first. So it's over here. And if I want to display it, I will follow the same steps as I did with emballeuse 2. So moving to the next part of the presentation. So I'm just gonna go back. So now so far we've seen how the Andon operation works on the front end, how the workflow works, how the production lines and the machines are set up in it with the site configuration. What's left is the global section. So global is mainly for the master variables of Andon. So if we go here, so there are multiple variables that can be set in global, but the one that we're most interested in is equipment type. So in order to have an equipment type, you need to define an equipment function, run stop reason, and a product to have a fully defined equipment type. So if I go back to here, so if you remember when I created my machine, I was asked to define the equipment type. So these equipment types are created at global level. So close this here for a sec. So first I'm going to start by my equipment function. If we go back to the slide over here, I'm going to define the equipment function. So I'm going to say the function of the machine is cutting, for example. So this is like the action that the machine can do, because different machines can have the same actions. And the abbreviation is going to be cut. Okay, perfect. Now, I have my function. I can do the equipment type itself. So now I'm going to keep it a bit simple. I'm going to add it. I'm going to call the equipment type, it's a cutter. Okay, I'm going to set the function. It's set to cutting. This is the function that I defined over here. I'm going to save. So now I have the equipment type, but it's not fully defined. So because in order to fully define it, I also need the run stop reason and the product associated. So I'll go back here. I'm going to add one stop reason. Let's say I'm going to call it overheating. So like a simple example. And with run stop reasons, you're going to have different types. You can have upstream, downstream, external stop reason. So what's important about external stop reason, this is like a unique one, because for OEE calculations, because OEE calculates via 24 hours. In the case of Andon, it doesn't take the schedule pauses. But what does take into consideration is the external stops. So let's say an operator has finished working his shift, he stops it using an external stop type, stop reason, then the OEE is going to take into consideration, oh, okay, this is not downtime, this is normal stoppage. So in this case, I'm going to set this downstream, for example. I don't want to use the same code. So it's 1101. Okay, save. Stop reason. And then I'm going to go to products. Then add a product. I'm going to call it metal flat, for example. Here I can say if I want this product to be available in my work order editor. And here what's important is I can see the equipment type. So in my case, it's cutter. I'm going to save it. Okay, so it's telling me the product code already exists. So I'm going to say call it 700. Okay, my bad. 701. Okay, works. So what's left for the equipment type? So I defined its function. I've associated a product to it, and I created the stop reason. I just need to associate it here. So I can see all the stop reasons. Think, what was the stop reason? Overheating, and I save it. So now my equipment type is fully configured. And later when I move to the sites and I want to create a new machine, I should be able to see it over here. I see cutter. I create the new machine. I assign it to my line machine. And then I use this line machine to assign it to my display zone. So this is like the main functionality of features in order to have like a fully functioning, so to speak, operator view. So now that we have some time left, I just want to show the OPC capabilities of Andon Studio. So I've already set up a simple example over here. So I just want to talk a little bit about variables and Andon. So we mainly have two main types of variables. So go here to global. We have variable categories and we have regular variables. So a variable category, once created, will be assigned to every machine on your production line, while a variable that's created on this level will be assigned only to this machine. So by default, there are variables that exist for every machines. The main ones, the mostly concerned with, are the production count variable. This is associated for how many products you're creating, so you can see it incrementing here from AS. The rework count, how many parts are being reworked. The product code, the one that I assigned when I created the product over there, was 701, for example. Here the product code is 0. This is the code for a generic product. The reject count, the stop reason that I created in global, and the stop condition. So stop condition is a binary variable, so you either the machine is stopped or not. Once it's stopped, it will check the stop reason. So in case the stop reason isn't fully defined, so let's say I go here, I'm going to open operation, I'll go to S. So I'm going to turn it off for a second. So here it says catch all. Catch all means unknown stop reason. So I'm an operator. I have an unknown stop reason. I can open the tab over here. I can see the list of available errors. So let's say I'm going to say it's a temperature issue. Okay. This way I was able to log in the information into my system. Okay. Besides that, see what's left. So this is the main point. So as I explained for the educational version, having digital twins plays a huge role, especially in AS in this case, and also the cloud version. So as I explained right now, so let me just show you something first. So all these clients, the user interface, how do I download them? So I download them using these links. These links are connected to the server layer that I initially showed. Now, the issue usually with setting up a server is that you need a good IT in your enterprise in order to properly set it up. And sometimes people have issues with that. So in order to circumvent this issue, FAMIC has its own cloud servers where the backend stuff is properly configured, and we can just send you the link if you're a university or a school or whatever. Okay, going back to this. Okay, so now this is almost the end of the presentation before I finish off. So I'm just going to recapitulate what I mentioned. So mainly the benefits of Andon Studio is the ability to communicate with different layers of the enterprise using one software. The software is easy to configure depending on your enterprise. It bridges the gap between your ERP and your shop floor via a bidirectional communication method. And it leverages all the data that has collected in order to create reports that are useful for analysis. So these are the main features. Now moving to the questions before Jean-Marie talks to us about the future plans of Automation Studio. Sorry, Andon Studio.
Thanks, Charles, for the excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Questions. What are the main challenges and difficulties in implementing Industry 4.0?
So the main challenge is also like the benefits, I would say, via the communication, is you're gonna have. So, for example, let's say all the information that's communicated from the shop floor, you need the good sensors, you need good actuators. So, for old plants, they're not fully equipped with these sensors in order to gather the information, in order to fully take advantage of it. But you can also circumvent it in some cases. So you can apply like a manual control of your machine where the operator can manually import this information, for example.
Excellent. Other questions. How can a company initiate an Industry 4.0 project?
So in this case, I think Jean-Marie has more experience with that factor because he has helped some companies initiate this process.
Yes.
Buenas tardes. So I will say that first of all, they need to have a plan to identify their weakness in their processes and in order to identify what Industry 4.0 will bring them. So that will be the starting point, I think. And after that, for sure, they need to put a team in place in order to work on the project. Because but as Charles was saying, generally the problem is the infrastructure because some plants are lacking some communication capabilities. So sometimes they have to build a network and to make their machine able to communicate.
Okay, thanks. How can your company support certifications?
What do you mean by certifications in this sense?
Certification, but actually, if we do an installation ourselves, we will do some validation test with the customer, and after that, but I don't know if you are talking about that type of certification or what type of certification are you talking about exactly?
For example, other questions. How can the investment be justified?
Sorry. Charles, can you answer?
Sorry. Okay, so as far as investment goes,
investment. Ok.
Donc, pourquoi ils doivent investir, c'est ça. Bon.
How can you mean how can the investment can be justified? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay.
Donc, so mainly we would say the reduction of the lead time of your production that can save you a lot of money, and the waste that comes with not having the correct information at the right time. I would say that's one of the main issues.
But I would say in order to be able to justify that they should have metrics in place, but they should measure. For example, the time they lost. So maybe they can do some audits before the project. But it could be a manual audit by measuring the downtime, things like that. Measure the efficiency of the machines and the efficiency globally of the team. And after the project, do the same metrics measures and compare. So I think that will be the only way to justify that the investment was made a difference. For example, we did a project at a customer that was making pieces for the aeronautic industry, and they were using CNC machines. And the problem they had is when it was machining the different pieces, at the end of the machining operation, often there was nobody close to the machine, and they were losing time because sometimes several minutes for each operation, because nobody was taking care of removing the piece, changing the tools, and starting another operation. So when we have installed Andon Studio, but it was a previous version, we were able to send notifications and display on the big dashboards uh, on the production line, like the number of minutes. There was a notification that was sent maybe 3 minutes before the end of the operation, and also the screen was changing colors with a big message, so the people were able to go. For example, 20 seconds before the end of the operation, they were able to be advised that they need to go to the machine. And the customer told us that they were able to save a lot of money with that. So but for sure, they were to be able to justify, you need to measure before, after.
Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. Thank you so much. Jorge, tal vez algunas palabras finales para cerrar la presentación.
Sí, gracias, Raúl. Sí, quería volver a retomar la parte inicial. Cuando hablamos de Industria 4.0 y hacemos una conferencia, a veces nos orientamos más en la teoría. Aquí el enfoque que da la compañía, Famic Technologies, es una compañía que desarrolla software. Estamos dedicados exclusivamente al desarrollo de software y es por eso que justamente lo orientamos a la práctica, a este tipo de aplicaciones, cómo volver una fábrica Industria 4.0. Nuestros países en Latinoamérica cuentan con muchas máquinas antiguas, sobre todo, que pues en este momento el costo de colocar una máquina nueva con toda la parte de sensores, captores, pues reemplazar una máquina cuesta. Entonces, una de las posibilidades que ofrecen nuestros productos es que estas máquinas antiguas, por ejemplo, en una fábrica, se pueda pues mejorar colocando instrumentos de medida, diferentes tipos de sensores, diferentes dispositivos que puedan tomar la información de producción que tenemos en las líneas y con esta herramienta, es una herramienta como observaron, si quedó claro el concepto, es una herramienta que es abierta para que el usuario la pueda integrar en cualquier sistema de producción. Entonces, si yo tengo la posibilidad de tener una máquina de hace 40 años, donde pueda colocarle instrumentos para medir la información y traerla a la base de datos de Andon Studio, podemos implementar fábricas inteligentes, ¿no? O sea, no necesitamos la máquina de última tecnología, podemos mejorar todos estos sistemas simplemente colocando toda la instrumentación necesaria. Entonces, de ahí que orientamos esta presentación no en teoría, sino un aspecto práctico. Eh, Hoy en día ya Industria 4.0 es un tema que viene desde el 2012, así, hace ya varios años, ¿no? Entonces, igual, ahora hay que orientarnos ya en Industria 5.0, ¿no? Ya se escuchan algunos conceptos. Entonces, también, pues, Famic Technologies, la idea es que tengamos una visión también orientada a este producto, también a cómo se va a adaptar, pues, nuevamente ya en esa nueva línea, ¿no? No sé si hayan alguna pregunta de pronto adicional o de nuestra parte, pues,
Sí, finalmente, primeramente agradecerles muchísimo por la presentación. Como les había dicho, excelente presentación y muy agradecidos por su tiempo, por haber apoyado en este tema a la universidad. Nosotros como universidad estamos con este programa de maestría de Industria 4.0 y todos estos conceptos, todos estos productos son bienvenidos para la universidad. Espero que este sea el inicio de conversaciones futuras para entablar algunas relaciones, casos prácticos que se están realizando en las empresas con nuestros estudiantes que podrían ustedes tranquilamente ayudarnos a intervenir.
claro, con mucho gusto estamos a la orden y pues la idea es poder compartir toda esta tecnología que se desarrolla, ¿no? Para que igual, en este caso, está orientado a la maestría de Industria 4.0, que conozcan pues cómo funciona este tipo de sistemas ya aplicados, ¿no? Y como comento, la compañía se dedica a desarrollar aplicaciones puntuales para este tipo de tecnologías. Entonces, desde que podamos compartir información, no hay inconveniente, estamos a la orden.
La UTPL les espera entonces a ustedes con los brazos abiertos. Muchísimas gracias nuevamente por la presentación y con esto damos por terminado este webinar. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias a todos. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Jan.
Hace
Thank you.
54 años iniciamos una misión: buscar la verdad, transmitir el saber y transformar vidas. En aquel entonces, los libros y las guías eran nuestras ventanas al mundo. Hoy, gracias a la tecnología, tenemos acceso al conocimiento global. En la UTPL, no solo brindamos educación, sino que te acompañamos e inspiramos. Cada clase y cada conversación se convierte en una experiencia que deja huella. Fuimos pioneros, rompimos barreras y llevamos la educación a cada rincón del país, cuando muchos creían que era imposible. La UTPL se ha convertido en un legado que une generaciones. Yo me formé en estos pasillos y hoy mis hijos también descubren aquí su camino. Porque aquí no solo se forman profesionales, se escriben nuevas historias, se generan oportunidades, se transforma el futuro. Somos la Universidad de la Innovación, la de los sueños que se heredan, la UTPL de Loja, del Ecuador y del mundo. Llevamos décadas trabajando juntos, construyendo algo más grande que nosotros mismos. UTPL, 54 años transformando vidas a través del conocimiento.